She took everything. My father's house, his money, even his memory. I thought grief was the worst pain a man could feel, until my stepmother forged his name 5 days after his funeral. My name is Michael Reeves, and this is how I proved the woman who married my father didn't just betray him. She almost got away with murder. My name is Michael Reeves. I'm 47 years old. And the day my life fell apart started like any other Tuesday. I was sitting in my truck outside the courthouse, staring at a document that made no sense. It was a deed. The deed to my late father's house. Transferred to someone else's name. Not sold, not inherited. Transferred. To my stepmother, Elaine Reeves. My father had been dead for 6 months. 6 months of grief, probate paperwork, and endless estate arguments. And somehow, the one thing he'd always said would be mine, the home he built with his bare hands, was gone. Elaine said it was what your father wanted, but I'd seen the old man's will. It named me the sole heir. He wanted the family home to stay in the Reeves name, just like his father before him. And yet, the signature on that new deed was his. Only problem? It was dated 5 days after his funeral. My father married Elaine when I was 30. She was 15 years younger than him. Elegant, polished, the kind of woman who made everyone in a room straighten up when she walked in. At first, I liked her. She made Dad happy. He'd been lonely for years after my mom died, and if Elaine could bring him joy, I was all for it. But happiness turned to control faster than I realized. She managed his medications, his appointments, his finances. Bit by bit, she built a wall around him. And by the time his health started failing, I needed permission just to see my own father. When I tried to talk to him about it, he'd smile weakly and say, "She takes good care of me, son. Don't make trouble." Then came the heart attack. And after the funeral, Elaine told me she'd handle all the estate matters. I trusted her, until I got that letter from the county clerk's office saying the property had been transferred. That night, I went back to my motel room, sat on the bed, and poured a glass of cheap bourbon. The same thought ran through my head again and again. She stole my father's life, and now she's stealing his legacy. 2 days later, a man knocked on my motel door. He was mid-60s, thin as a rail, wearing a tan suit and a bolo tie. "Mr. Reeves?" he asked. "Yeah." "My name's Howard Jennings. I was your father's attorney." He stepped inside, looked around the small room, and sighed. "I tried to reach you sooner," he said. "Your stepmother changed all the contact info right after the funeral." He opened his briefcase and handed me a sealed envelope with my name in my father's handwriting. Inside was a short letter. "Mike, if you're reading this, I'm gone. There are things you need to know about Elaine. Don't trust her. Check the safety deposit box. Love, Dad." My heart started pounding. "What box?" I asked. Jennings smiled faintly. "Bank of Tennessee, downtown branch. Box 413. Your name's already on the list." The next morning I drove straight to the bank. When the clerk opened that box, my hands were shaking. Inside were 2 things. A USB drive. A folded stack of papers. Bank records, handwritten notes, and photographs. The photos stopped my breath. They showed Elaine, at restaurants, in hotels, with a man I'd never seen before. Time-stamped 6 months before my father's death. The bank records showed transfers, money moving from Dad's business accounts into one labeled E. Reeves, personal. Nearly $180,000 gone in under a year. And then the last page. A draft of a new will, naming me the sole heir again, unsigned. The USB drive was even worse. It held audio files, dated recordings of my father's conversations. One of them, 3 weeks before he died, caught his voice clearly. "Elaine, I don't like all these withdrawals. I didn't approve this." "Don't worry about it," she said, voice smooth, calm. "You've been forgetting things. You signed it already." "No, I didn't." Click. Recording ended there. I sat in my truck for nearly an hour, gripping that flash drive like it was a lifeline. My father hadn't just been manipulated. He'd been isolated, gaslit, and robbed. And now, she was sitting in his house drinking wine on the porch he built. That evening, I drove to the house. The driveway light was still busted. I'd meant to fix it months ago. Through the window, I saw Elaine sitting at the dining table, sipping red wine, scrolling through her phone like she owned the world. I knocked once. She didn't look up. Knocked again, harder. When she finally opened the door, she smiled that same perfect smile she'd used at the funeral. "Michael, what a surprise." "You forged his signature," I said. She blinked. "Excuse me?" "You forged it, Elaine. I saw the records, the money transfers, the recordings." Her eyes widened for a split second before she recovered. "You don't know what you're talking about. Your father was sick. He was confused." "No," I said quietly. "He wasn't." She folded her arms, her tone sharpening. "You have no proof any of that's real. And even if you did, what are you going to do? Sue me? Spend the rest of your life fighting a losing battle over a man who's gone?" "I'll do whatever it takes," I said. Her smirk faltered just enough to let me know she was afraid. That night, I didn't go back to the motel. I parked across the street and waited. At midnight, a car pulled up. Same man from the photos. They kissed in the doorway before going inside. I took photos. Then I drove straight to Jennings' office. Jennings was waiting with coffee when I arrived. He studied the photos and nodded. "That's enough to open a case. Fraud, forgery, financial coercion. But it won't be easy. You ready for a long fight?" I nodded. "I'm done losing." For the next 3 weeks, Jennings and his team dug through every record they could find. Property deeds, financial statements, hospital bills. Turns out Elaine had been moving money for years, draining my father's pension, liquidating accounts, even selling old family land without his consent. When we filed the claim, she went silent for exactly 2 days. Then came the call. "You made a mistake, Michael," she said, her voice calm, almost soothing. "You think you can win against me? I have the house, the money, the lawyers. You have, what, a USB drive?" "I have the truth," I said. She laughed. "The truth doesn't matter in court, only proof." Then she hung up. But proof was exactly what I had, and what she didn't realize was coming next. A week before the hearing, Jennings called. "Michael, you're going to want to sit down." He told me about a man named Dr. Raymond Holt, my father's primary physician. He had suddenly retired 2 weeks after my father's death. But Jennings found out he hadn't retired. He'd been quietly dismissed after discrepancies in prescription authorizations were discovered. Dozens of medications signed under my father's name, but never picked up by him. "Guess who signed the pharmacy receipts?" Jennings said. Elaine, I whispered. He paused. There's more. We found a security camera still active at the pharmacy. It captured her, multiple times, picking up medications under your father's name. A chill ran through me. It wasn't just financial manipulation anymore. It was possible. It had gone further. The day of the hearing, Elaine showed up in a gray suit, perfectly pressed, perfectly calm. She looked like the picture of dignity, the grieving widow wronged by a bitter son. But when Jennings laid out the evidence, the forged signature, the recordings, the bank transfers, the pharmacy footage, that calm started to crack. He played one of the recordings in full. My father's voice echoed through the courtroom. Elaine, please stop taking my money. You're making a mistake. It's for us, she said softly. No, it's not. The judge leaned forward. Mrs. Reeves, is that your voice? Elaine's lawyer started to object, but the judge cut her off. Answer the question. Elaine hesitated. Yes, but that doesn't mean... It means, Jennings interrupted, that this entire transfer was built on fraud. The judge's gavel came down. I'm ordering a full forensic audit of all accounts and assets belonging to the late Mr. Reeves. Pending results, the property will revert to the respondent, Michael Reeves. Elaine turned pale. Her lawyer whispered frantically, but she was frozen. I just sat there, hands clasped, trying not to smile. 2 weeks later, the audit results came in, and they were worse than anyone expected. Elaine hadn't just siphoned off my father's pension and savings. She had also taken out a reverse mortgage on the house 2 months before he died, forging his signature again. Total debt? $186,000. When the investigators traced where the money went, they found multiple transfers to a joint account she shared with the same man from the photos. Mark Callahan, a contractor half her age. The judge ordered the sale of all her personal assets to pay off the debt and restitution to the estate. Elaine went from the woman who had everything under control to someone facing criminal charges for fraud, forgery, and elder financial abuse. The day the verdict came down, she didn't show up to court. Her lawyer said she'd left the state. A month later, I got a letter from Jennings. It was short. House legally restored. Debt cleared. You won, Michael. I sat in my truck outside that courthouse, the same spot where it all started, and laughed for the first time in a long time. Not because I was happy, but because it was over. When I finally walked back into that old house, it didn't feel like home at first. It smelled of dust and silence. Her perfume still lingered faintly in the hallway. But I opened all the windows, let the Tennessee air flood in, and promised myself one thing. This house will never hold lies again. I spent the next few months restoring what she had neglected, repainting the porch, repairing the roof, fixing the old oak swing my dad built when I was 10. Every nail, every stroke of paint felt like reclaiming a piece of him. Jennings stopped by one afternoon, watching me work. He smiled and said, "Your father would be proud, you know." I nodded. I hope so. He handed me an envelope. This came from the audit team. Thought you'd want to see it. Inside was a ledger, one my father had kept in his handwriting, and on the last page, written weeks before he died, "If anything happens to me, make sure Michael keeps the house. He's the only one who remembers what family means." I folded the page and slipped it into my wallet, still there today. 6 months passed before I heard from Elaine again. She sent a single letter, no return address, just my name in shaky handwriting. Michael, you may think I'm a monster. Maybe I am. I made mistakes, but your father, he wasn't perfect either. He didn't tell you everything. I loved him, in my own way. And I never meant to hurt you. No apology. No mention of the lies, the stolen money, the months of manipulation. Just another attempt to control the narrative. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. That was the day I stopped being angry. Because anger keeps you tied to the people who broke you, and I was done being tied to her. A year later, I turned the house into something new. A halfway home for veterans starting over. I called it Reeves' Place. It wasn't fancy, but it was real. A place where broken people could start again, just like I did. Some nights when I lock up and sit on the porch, I can still hear my father's voice in the wind, telling me to keep going, to build, to live. Elaine once told me the truth doesn't matter, only proof. But she was wrong. The truth always matters, even if it takes time to surface. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't winning in court. It's rebuilding your life so strong they can't touch it again.